Hi everyone, welcome or welcome back to my channel. If you've clicked on this video, then maybe you just recently graduated from school and you're transitioning into the full-time work grind, or you're just starting out in your first full-time 9-to-5 position, then this video is for you. I'm going to be sharing some of my tips that I used to help me transition into working my first full-time position, and some tips that I wish that I knew that would have made it even easier. So let's get started. A little bit about me before I get into some of these tips. My name is Allison. I'm 28 years old. I work full-time as a radiation therapist. My journey to becoming a radiation therapist was not the most linear, which I feel like happens to a lot of people. You change your major, you decide that you want to switch your career. That is totally fine. But for me, that did put me back a few years because I went right back to school after I graduated with my first undergraduate degree. So by the time I actually graduated and was looking for my first full-time job, I was 25 years old and I felt so behind, and I felt like I had just gotten so accustomed to living kind of that college lifestyle where you just have like a few classes a day, and I was working part-time, but you still had a lot of free time and you had time to make things adjust to your schedule. Like, I miss so badly going to the gym at like 10 in the morning. Like, that's something that you don't realize when you're living this like college lifestyle, that when you work full-time 9-to-5, you have to make time to go to the gym either in the morning or after work. Your schedule becomes a little more strict because of this limitation of you having to be working from 9-to-5. And for the purpose of this video, I'm going to say 9-to-5. I know not everybody works those hours. I don't even work those hours. Mine is more like 7 to 3:30. But for the sake of this, it's just the reference of you do have to work full 8 hours during the day. Your schedule has to be a little more routine when you have to fit in things around your new work schedule. So I found it very challenging because, you know, I had become, as I mentioned, I had become so used to having a little bit more of a free schedule. The only thing that really did help me was that my last year of school was clinicals, so that helps out when you work in healthcare because my clinical schedule was pretty much full-time, unpaid, but it was full-time, and that did help me adjust to working full-time. But that was hard too because you're also still in school during that time, so that feels even worse because you're working unpaid, trying to work a part-time job, and also like have classes. But that is beside the point. Basically, what I'm trying to say is it is so normal to struggle with adjusting to starting your first full-time job. So I'm gonna go through a few of my tips to hopefully help you guys seamlessly transition into working full-time and making the most of your time, having a good work-life balance, and enjoy the process of starting your first full-time job. Let's get into the tips. My first tip is to create some sort of routine, and maybe not even like a full day routine because that is gonna become monotonous if you do the same thing every day, but maybe just specifically like a morning routine just to help keep you a little more structured, or even just certain things like having a specific time that you want to be in bed. I think there's a balance between having a routine that is getting really boring and also like still doing things that bring you joy and like switch up your week a little bit, because I do think it's important to do things on the weekdays, like go out to dinner or see friends, because working 40 hours a week can be a little bit depressing. I'm not gonna lie, I'm just gonna say it. You know, you get up, you go to work, you come home, you eat, you sleep, and then you have to do it all again. So switching it up a little bit is definitely gonna bring you some joy, because you do need to realize that life is more than just working. You do have to enjoy life. Like, that's the whole reason you're working, basically, is to make money, to do other things in life. So don't forget about that. But I do feel like having some sort of routine is definitely going to help keep you a little bit structured and allow you to manage your time better, to allow you to do these things outside of work that you want to do. Making sure that you have a routine, like when you want to do laundry, cleaning routine, or morning routine, night routine, something like that, but not necessarily like the same thing every day, morning and night, mixing it up a little bit, but having some sort of structure. It's just gonna help you manage your time better and your energy as well. My next tip is to make the most of your commute. And now this may not relate to everyone, but this does specifically relate to me because I did choose a job that is an hour away, so I do have a very long commute, which I am realizing is a little bit more common than I thought, but obviously it's not super common, and nowadays there's a lot of remote positions, so some people don't even have a commute, which I'm extremely jealous of, by the way. But for me, making the most of my commute is essential because I am wasting 2 hours in the car. So finding a way to make that time work for me is very important to me because time is money, and also my time is my time. Like that's time that I'm not at work, but I'm driving to work. So I typically use that time to either listen to an audiobook, podcast. Sometimes I listen to YouTube videos, not necessarily, I don't watch them, obviously I'm driving, but I just play them in the background because it's just something to listen to. Obviously, sometimes I just listen to music, get ready for this, especially on my way to work. I like to sometimes just listen to music because it helps keep me relaxed and calm and like set my intentions for the day. Even that can make you feel better about your day. I have a long commute. I could be negative about it and I could dread it every morning, but there's another way to look at it where it's like, if I am going to be doing this commute, I should make the most of my time and find a way that makes it not miserable. So again, what I do is kind of use it as me time. I focus on myself, my thoughts, my well-being, come up with like, what do I want to accomplish today, especially on the way home. What do I want to do when I get home? Because obviously I also have a lot of other passions and hobbies. I do a lot of content creation, so I like to think of ideas when I'm in the car, different things like that to kind of maximize my time while I'm also driving. Another great thing is if you commute but you're someone who takes like a bus or a train or you walk, those are all different ways that you can be kind of doing something else. Like especially if you're someone who's on the train or the bus, like I know it's not always super convenient or fun to be like on your laptop or something when you're in a public area, but like maybe you could use your phone and answer some emails. Like if you are a content creator, work on some editing, or again, coming up with ideas, coming up with a schedule, doing a to-do list, all these kinds of things. Well, and like even then you can be doing that while also like maybe listening to an audiobook or a podcast, like all these different things that you can kind of habit stack and get a lot of things done while you're commuting. And totally fine to also use that time just to like brain rot and like not think about anything if that's what you want to do, but also you could use that time to your advantage. My third tip is meal prepping, and I don't necessarily mean like just chicken and rice and broccoli. That is definitely not what I mean, because that's not fun. But just in general, what I mean is having a meal plan. Like it doesn't even necessarily have to be prepped. It could be just having a schedule of your meals for the week, and maybe just dinners. Like it doesn't have to be every meal. I do every meal, but only because I do, like I mentioned, I have a long commute, so I try to have everything prepped and ready for like the whole week because I don't want to be spending my time during the week doing that. So I take a few hours on a Sunday, get like breakfast and lunches pre-made, and then as much as the dinner as I can. Sometimes we still like cook a little bit during the week as well. I don't enjoy cooking, so for me that is something that I enjoy just doing once on the weekend and getting the bulk of it out of the way, and it makes the rest of my week so much easier instead of coming home and then having to cook for like 2 hours, because I don't want to do that. I want to, again, get stuff done, work on my editing, work on emails, watch TV. Like I want to do anything else but cook. So for me, that is what works for me. And again, this could be as simple as just having a grocery list and knowing what you want to cook for the week. It just makes your life so much easier. And then also, instead of like, I feel like what I used to do way back when I was first starting to work was I ended up like feeling like I was stopping at the grocery store like 2 to 3 times during the week and then picking up a bunch of extra stuff because like I was missing an ingredient, and then I stopped at the store and picked it up. And then honestly that just spirals, because then I'm spending more money at the grocery store because obviously when I'm there I'm picking up extra stuff. So I feel like overall it helps me like mentally, financially, and like just physically to meal prep and even just meal plan. Again, not necessary and it's not for everyone. I know a lot of people really do like to cook. I think another really good thing about planning out your meals is it also helps you be in control of like how healthy your meals are, how much it's costing you. If you have your lunches planned, you don't have to buy lunch at work, which one could either be not very healthy, and two, it adds up. If you're buying lunch every day, Monday through Friday, that could be an extra like $50-$60 a week that you're spending on lunches. If you want to treat yourself and get lunch even just twice a week, that is obviously up to you, but I do feel like having meals prepped, planned has been super helpful for us. Tip number 4 is to obviously find hobbies outside of work. I feel like this is really important because we work so many hours of the week that sometimes that feels like all we can do mentally, but work is work. And that doesn't mean you have to love what you do, and sometimes you don't. But hobbies are things that you choose. You choose to do them because you actually like them, and it brings you joy and it brings you happiness. It can be a stress reliever, and especially if you have maybe a stressful job or a job where you are moving around a lot like myself. I like to find things that are fun but also relaxing because I work kind of a stressful job. I'm on my feet all day. I work with patients. I'm talking all the time. I like to find hobbies that relax me, that I truly enjoy, and that take my mind away from work. That's what I feel like is big with hobbies. There's a lot of benefits to hobbies. One being it's a way to make new friends, and friends that have similar interests to you. Like, for example, I haven't gone to this yet, but there is a local book club. I joined the Facebook group, and once a month they go to this coffee place. Everyone brings their book and they just sit and read and mingle and talk to each other. And so that is a nice way to, one, meet new people who also enjoy reading like myself, and two, get out, enjoy company of other people, but also do something that I enjoy, which is reading. And also it's relaxing for me. It's not something where I'm the kind of person who likes hobbies that don't involve a lot of physical activity, because again, I'm working on my feet all day. Like, this is something that I can do to like decompress. That's just an example. I also think it's really important because engaging in activities outside of work help prevent burnout. Honestly, is something that I feel like not a lot of people talk about. Like, a lot of people talk about it in healthcare, but I feel like a lot of people don't talk about it in other careers. Burnout is so real. Like, it is so real. I am only 3 years into my career and I feel burnt out to the max. But again, finding ways to separate your life from work can help prevent that burnout, because you're doing things that you enjoy or you have something to look forward to after work. And also, work is a means for you to be able to do the things that you enjoy in life. I feel like it's important for me to say here that, again, like, I feel like a lot of people, when they think of hobbies, they think of something active, some kind of sport, pickleball, golf. I think it's also important to mention that it doesn't have to be something super physical. It can be journaling, it can be reading. Honestly, I think it could even be like sitting and watching reality TV, because that is a hobby for me. Something that you just truly enjoy doing and like takes that stress away from you, makes you feel recharged, because that will make going to work a little bit easier and a little bit better. All right, number 5 is to learn to say no. And I feel like this tip to me relates to in the workplace and also out of the workplace. Especially when you start your first full-time job, you feel like you're gonna want to say yes to everything because you're the new person and you want to impress people and you want everyone to like you and prove yourself. It's important to remember that, again, saying yes to everything is also gonna lead you down a path of feeling very overwhelmed, potentially overworked, burnt out, as we mentioned, and then you're gonna start to have kind of some resentment because you're also probably not getting compensated or even rewarded in any way for this extra work. I do think there is a line of allowing yourself to prove yourself, go the extra mile, but also not get taken advantage of when you're starting out in a new place, because I feel like a lot of times people feel like they can just tell you anything that they want you to do and you're gonna do it. It is hard, obviously, to say no. There's a respectful way of going about saying no in these situations in work. Outside of work, you might also face some similar pressure to say yes to going to social events or doing favors for someone or commitments. And again, I feel like as you get older, it's important to really focus on like what actually aligns with your goals and your happiness. Sometimes it's okay to say no. For example, if you've had a really long week, you're exhausted, maybe you work in healthcare like me. I know nurses work crazy schedules, 12-hour shifts, you're exhausted and your friends want to go out. I know there is this feeling of missing out, FOMO, whatever, but it's okay to say no and focus on yourself, get rest if you need it. I think there's a balance. Obviously, don't say no to everything or you're gonna find yourself a little bit isolated. If you truly don't want to do something, you can say no, and like your friends aren't gonna like hate you for saying no if you're like, guys, for real, I'm exhausted. Can we hang out next week or this weekend or something? This kind of relates to like people who just graduated from school, because again, you come from having this schedule that's a little more open and free, and you could do whatever you want on the weeknights. Like, you might still have friends who don't have full-time jobs and they're still going out partying, clubbing, staying out super late, drinking, and maybe that just doesn't align with you. Maybe you have to work at 6 a.m. the next morning. It's okay to be like, yeah, no, I prefer my sleep than that. It's also okay to say yes if you really want to go, but just keep in mind your priorities and how you're gonna feel the next day. Like, are you gonna regret it the next day? Maybe. It is okay to say no in and out of the workplace. Tip number 6 is to get enough sleep. This is hard. I feel like this is hard for anyone to get enough sleep. More so, the tip is to have a good sleep schedule. When you have a set full-time schedule, your work hours, so you can plan around your sleep to adjust to working full-time. Because again, with your school schedule, yes, you have classes and maybe you are working part-time. It is very different than having to be at a set place for 8 hours every day. What I always tell myself when like I notice maybe I'm staying up a little bit later than like I normally would is I try to remind myself, like, how are you gonna feel tomorrow if you don't get your 7 hours of sleep? Which I try to get 7. I'm usually around like 6.5. Just try to remind myself, like, how did you feel the last time that you didn't get enough sleep at work? And I felt horrible because again, I do work early hours, so I'm usually working from 7 to like 3. It is tough getting up early when you didn't sleep very well. So I like to remind myself that I'm gonna feel better tomorrow. I'm gonna have a better day tomorrow if I'm getting enough sleep, and I'm gonna feel recharged and just have a better day overall. My husband, on the other hand, he is a night owl, and some people are. You need to do whatever works for you. He stays up late, but he also can get up a little later than I do. So whatever works for you, but as long as you get enough sleep that you're not feeling exhausted or tired the next day at work. On a general basis, obviously, if you have something going on one night and you end up staying up late, no big deal. I just feel like you should try to have a consistent-ish sleep schedule. There's gonna be things that come up. Maybe there's a game on, a football game or something, and you want to stay up and watch it. Things will happen, but trying to at least prioritize getting, I would even say, 6 to 8 hours of sleep is gonna make you just feel better. Your brain is gonna be a little bit more focused, less fuzzy. You'll have a little bit more energy during the day. Number 7, and this one is very important to me, is having something to look forward to. This can be something small or something big, such as like having a vacation planned. That is something that I love. I love having some sort of trip planned because that helps keep me excited. And that also, I mean, I know it sounds bad, but it's like, oh, only 4 more weeks till I get to go on my trip. Oh, and then like the countdown kind of comes on and you get excited. It's like natural to feel excited for some kind of trip coming up or a day off coming up. I say this because, you know, in the midst of working Monday through Friday, 9 to 5, it's easy for the days to kind of start blending together, and then time kind of just goes by. One way to help keep your motivation and happiness high is to have something to look forward to. It could also even be something small, like having something weekly to look forward to. Maybe you are going out to dinner. Maybe you're gonna get like a little sweet treat. Maybe you're gonna get your nails done. Something, it can be small, it can be large. These little things add up to making you feel a little bit happier overall. This can even be something as simple as taking a day off just to have the day off. That's not a tip, but I guess this is like 7A. You can take a day off and do nothing. That's allowed when you're an adult. Your PTO is your PTO. You can take a day off simply just to do nothing, or to like catch up on errands, or sit on the couch and rot and watch reality TV. That's okay. Me and my husband do that sometimes. We take the same day off and just like hang out, and we love it. And I look forward to it. So it's the little things. Again, I like to have like something small to look forward to, but also something large to look forward to. Number 8 is to continue to develop new skills. And this one I do kind of specifically mean within a work-related space. It doesn't necessarily have to specifically relate to what you do for work currently, but maybe it's something that's going to help you in the future progress in your job, or move laterally, or move to a different position in a different industry. Some kind of continuous learning course or certification, or even just a computer type skill, getting better at Excel, learning some kind of coding. Things like that are never gonna hurt you when you're looking for a new job, or if you're trying to like ask for a promotion. Things like that are only gonna help you because it's leverage, and it opens up more doors for you in the future too. For me, if you have been following me for a little bit, you know that I'm kind of crazy and I don't know what's gonna make me happy. I really don't. I'm only 28 years old. I feel like I should have my life sorted out, and you know, a lot of people have their career and they work in that career for 40 years. I don't know if that's for me. I don't think that's for me, because I know myself. I know that I like to just do different things. Life is too short for me to not enjoy what I'm doing, but at the same time, I do enjoy what I'm doing right now. It's just, it is a lot. It's exhausting. I know that I won't want to do it forever, and I also know that again, I work a very physical job. I'm not going to be able to do that when I'm like in my 50s. I mean, I could. I know people who have. It's just like, I don't want to be doing that in my 50s. I want to set myself up now to be able to do something else in the future. So I feel like it's really important to some kind of continuous learning, seminars, webinars, readings, anything like that that is going to potentially help you in the future. I also feel like just having like new skills helps you as a person. As I mentioned, I am kind of crazy. I do have my master's degree. I did go back to school for that, for healthcare management. I'm also now currently in a medical coding course so that I could potentially do that, so that I can try to work from home. But I do have to do continuing education anyway for my professional license. So I am constantly still learning new things, and I do feel like it helps kind of keep your mind sharp, make you a more well-rounded person too, even just having any kind of extra skills, like learning how, like I said, learning how to use social media, especially in this day and age, is definitely not a bad skill to have. You know, maybe you like what you do now, but you do see yourself having some growth in the future. It's important to think about, what can I do now that's going to help me set myself up to be in a better position in the future, or ask for a raise or ask for a promotion, because they are going to want some tangible accomplishments or examples that kind of warrant you to get this promotion or raise. Also, side note, so this is 8A. I also think it's really important to mention, it's totally okay if you don't want to advance in your career too. I feel like a lot of people, there was this trend, especially when like I was growing up, to like climb the corporate ladder. I feel like nowadays, especially what I've seen on social media, there is this kind of downward trend of being like no, I don't want to do that, because working in a corporate position like is making me miserable, and I'm working overtime, not getting paid enough, and life is just so expensive right now to like be miserable. So I think it is okay to come to the conclusion that like, hey, you know what, I'm happy in the position I'm in. I don't want to advance my career. For me, example, I got my master's degree. I don't know if I'll ever use that. I probably won't, to be honest, because I have other goals that I want to achieve that really don't involve using my master's degree. But it was a good opportunity for me to get it at the time. And I don't really have a desire to climb the corporate ladder. I have other desires that involve being on social media, but I also have to be a little bit realistic at the same time. I also want to be a mother and be there for my kids. So there's all these different things that come into play, specifically with like climbing the corporate ladder, and if you want to, or career advancement, because that is not everyone's dream. It's really not. My real dream is to have kids, work part-time, be home with my kids, and do social media on the side, but also be making like a good amount of money from social media. That is really my goal, and I wouldn't be using any of these degrees really that I have, except for the one. But it's okay to be happy where you're at. It all just comes down to a matter of, what do you want to do? Where do you want to go in the future? Is there something you can do now that might help you get there? Or are you content and just want to vibe and do what you do? All of that is valid. Those were my 8 tips that I have for a smoother transition into working full-time. Just remember to be a little bit patient with yourself, give yourself grace. You probably will be tired the first few weeks, getting into a rhythm, into a routine. But if you incorporate any of these tips, I feel like it'll help you create a more enjoyable and manageable work experience, and ultimately leading to having a good work-life balance. Thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you made it this far to the end, let me know in the comments down below which tip was your favorite, or comment any other tips that you may have for other people to read in the comments, and I will see you guys in the next video.